Hello everyone, and happy summer to you, or what seems like it could be summer. Around here in Alberta you never know, but hopefully we've crossed that line between spring, where it could snow or rain at any time, to a nice warm, not too warm summer. So what I thought I would do today with the nicer weather and the idea that maybe a few more people are headed outside was really talk about the idea of mindfulness in terms of mindful walking. Now, a very basic concept of mindfulness is simply paying attention to things that are around us instead of being focused on what's going on in our mind. Normally, we walk through our day on autopilot to a degree. So what's the next thing I have to do? What's the next series of behaviors I need to engage in? And then, if I'm making supper for the 4 millionth time, I'm not focused really on what I'm doing. I might be in my head worrying or thinking about things that are sad or something that's making me angry. And so instead of doing that, we want to practice bringing our attention to things that are going on outside of our head, things that are around us. So generally, when I first mention the idea of doing something mindfully to people, they're not quite sure where to start or how to go about using that in their day-to-day life. So I'm going to give you a very practical way to work on mindfulness while you're taking a walk, in terms of, you could term it a mindfulness treasure hunt, so to speak. This type of activity will be really great if you live in the city, based on how I'm going to present it. But if you live in the country, you can still use it. You just have to adapt slightly. So the concept of mindfulness, as I mentioned, is really paying attention to what is around you. And if you think about things that we might encounter when we're walking outside, there are a number of things that we can look for, that we can keep an eye out for, that we may not necessarily notice all the time, or we may just sort of write off as we're dwelling on whatever is going on inside of our head. So if you imagine that you're leaving your house to go for a walk down the street, assuming there are front yards in your street, the first thing I would suggest, if you're going to do a bit of a mindfulness treasure hunt, is look at all of the yards as you pass and find at least one yard where something is different. It could be very obvious. It could be very sneaky. Maybe a new flower's bloomed somewhere and you didn't notice it before. Maybe there's kids' toys on the front that there hadn't been before. And so you're going to check every yard and see which one is maybe the most different, or which one has a couple of different things, so that you're attending to what's going on visually in every yard as you pass. The next thing on your mindful treasure hunt list is going to be trying to see if you can spot a bird somewhere. Is there a bird sitting somewhere? Is there a bird singing? If you hear a bird singing, can you listen to the song long enough that maybe you could mimic it? You don't have to obviously do this standing in the middle of the road, but in your mind, do you feel like you could repeat that sound because you're attending to hearing what's happening in the moment? As you're walking, keep an eye out for any sort of animals you might spot. You can keep a mental list. So did you see a squirrel? Did you see some dogs? How many dogs did you see? Did you see only birds or nothing at all? Maybe there was nothing out and about, or maybe you saw some bugs on the ground. But keeping your eyes open and intentionally noting, how many animals did I see when I was out walking today? Then also on your list is, what kind of things do I smell? And I'm not talking about those overpowering scents that, you pass a sewer grate or something and you're just like, oh, that's horrible. I'm not talking about those. I'm talking about those scents that float through the air in the summer that maybe have the slightest hint of some type of a flower, or maybe just have that summer smell, but just attend every once in a while to, what kind of things am I smelling? What is entering my senses through my sense of smell? You can, if you choose to, try and hear something unusual, or if you notice anything you hear that's unusual, trying to figure out what it is. So you might hear maybe the sound of a lawn tractor perhaps, or you might hear a sound you've never heard before, or a horn honking, or you can note all of those different sounds and identify to yourself, oh, that's a horn. If you're really into cars, maybe you know what kind of horn it is. I would have no idea, but you can definitely do that. You're accessing information in your brain that already exists, and you're applying it to a stimulus you're encountering. The next thing that you can keep an eye out for, if you feel that you have an interest in plants or trees or anything that's green, how many different shades of green do you run across in your travels? Is everything green? Are there different colors you see, maybe more than green? At certain times around here, maybe there's more brown than green, or maybe your neighbor has a certain type of grass that's greener than the neighbor's grass next to it. And so you're watching and you're attending to these little tiny details. If you want to, you can take comparison pictures of things that you found. You can, make a note in your phone. Today I saw 12 different shades of green. You can make a note as to, which house maybe has something different about it. You're really exploring and adventuring within your own world, all in the process of just taking a walk. And not only does that help us enjoy the world around us, it allows us to get out of that whirling circus in our brain that just is continually feeding us worries or depression, thoughts of depression, or things that we kind of obsess about sometimes. All of that will still be around in your brain if you choose to access it when you come back from your walk. But while you're on your walk, you go with a purpose to find these different things, and you go with the understanding that everything that's in your brain that pops into your head, you're going to put that on pause until you're finished your walk. And then if you feel like it, you can pick it back up again. So that is how you do a very basic mindfulness walk. So make yourself a list of some of the things that I've mentioned, or all of them if you're so inclined, and take your list and try out going for a walk, see what you find. If you find anything interesting, let me know in the comments. But if you just find the experience enjoyable, feel free to have it on hand to access whenever you just need to get out of your own head, because sometimes we need